What's up, you guys? This is Devin from CenturyFX Studios, back with another video, and today we're here with the 5D Mark II, the tried and true. Now, we're in manual mode, but I neglected to mention that not all cameras have full functionality over all of its settings straight out of the box. Now, if you just pulled your camera straight out of the box, or you haven't really touched your camera since it came out of the box, as far as your settings and how to control your shutter speed, ISO, and aperture, you might want to get used to that. First of all, you need to understand how to access them. Now, most people can just go to your Q screen here or your live view, and you can just hit a button, and eventually it'll highlight some of the main features of your camera, like shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. You can also press buttons, like I can press a button here on the top and access almost all three of them. So, now that you know that, you have to understand that not all of those values are at your disposal when you're shooting manual mode straight out of the camera. You're going to have to go through the camera and activate some of these settings. Now, as far as f-stops and your aperture, that's dependent on the lens. So the camera doesn't really try to control you and control your f-stop value. So all of that's at your disposal. From f20 to whatever your lens is, all the way up to your widest common aperture, f1.8, 2.8, f 3.5, 5.6, whatever your widest aperture is. You have all of those values at your disposal to choose from when you're choosing your exposure. Now, that means f-stop is all good to go. No matter what camera you have, you should be able to choose through all of your f-stop values. Chances are, if you're not able to choose an f-stop wide enough, then your lens can't go that far or can't let in that much light. That means you need to shell out some money and get a wider aperture lens, and that's pretty much the lay of the land there. All right, so now you have your shutter speed. Shutter speed usually is not capped off. I haven't seen many cameras with shutter speed capped off. Typically, if your shutter speed is capped off at some value or something like that, you're in the wrong mode. You see what I'm saying? So you're in the wrong mode if your shutter speed is capped off, and sometimes that can happen with aperture. If your aperture is not able to be moved, you're not in manual mode. So these two are pretty much good to go as far as values are concerned. You don't have to worry about them being capped off by the camera, things of that nature. But ISO here. ISO is a value that's capped off by the camera because you have higher ISOs and lower limited ISOs. Now these, excuse me, it keeps going off. But the lower limit ISO values for the 5D Mark II is L, which is probably ISO 50, which is an extended ISO. We'll get on that later. And then you have the other lower limit, which is your negative limit of the lowest ISO, which is 100. Now, let me go back to ISO because it keeps going away on me. Your higher limits, natively, the highest one you can hit is 6400. And then you have an H1, which is probably 12,800. And then you have the 25,000, whatever the ISO is. That's what H2 is. But the camera is embarrassed to let you see these two ISOs, H1 and H2, because the image is probably going to be whack. That's probably why the manufacturer made it like that. And it probably won't let you go anywhere above ISO 3200 because it doesn't look good. But that's not the point. The point is to be able to give you your ISO values, no matter what it is. So you're going to have to unlock that in the camera. So what you have to do for the 5D Mark II, now this might not be for your camera. You might not have a 5D Mark II from Canon or a 5D Mark III or any camera that looks like this. But chances are you're going to have to unlock your ISO values if you haven't. Let's go to the menu mode. For me, I have a star that I've chosen my favorites, but I'm going to go to it like I haven't started anything. I'm going to go to Custom Function 1, Exposure. So I'm going to go into that, and you notice here, you have ISO speed increments. Now you can do it in 1/3 stop or 1 stop. This is a very, very valuable tool. The fact that you can choose how camera counts stops is very, 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 very important because you want to be able to choose your exposure very, very pointedly. You want to have pretty much tack on exposure as much as possible. And choosing the smallest increments can let you adjust as much as you want to. It's like going up steps. If you're going up steps and you just want to go up one step at a time so you don't trip and fall, your camera's not going up 5 steps at a time and not letting you get to the other values in between. So I choose 1/3 of a stop always because most cameras in the world come default in 1/3 stops, and they're counted actually with their exposure meter in the center at 1/3 stops. And I'll show you that in just a second. You can do 1 stop, but kills all of your area in between. So you might jump the exposure brighter, or you might get it too low, and you don't want that. You want all the increments in between. So I always have that on 1/3 stop. Let's go to the next menu here. All right, ISO expansion on. That means I am able to get all the ISO values that my camera allows. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we came here for. It's on already. All right, auto bracketing control, cancel. I don't need to worry about all that crap. No. All right, so ISO has been dealt with in the camera. Now when we go back and we go up here to ISO, when we start turning it, it goes all the way through the whole book of ISO values. So when you're actually taking your picture, you're not capped off by what the ISO can do or can't do. I'm done with CenturyFX Studios, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Free up your camera, free up all the settings so you can get as much exposure room as possible. Stay tuned for the next video.